that is doing this kind of activities, then the law that we have is actually not comprehensive. It is not wholesome in nature, as what uh, as what uh, uh, Hagerstorm is saying. So Hagerstorm says that we need to experience the law, experience the thing that we want to study. We don't just, kalau kita observe sahaja, observation is not good enough because you don't have your cognitive punya ability. You don't experience it. So we don't have to like be experienced of that this particular person to to be in a apa mana yatim, but just understand them, yeah, understand them and look upon what happened to them. Then only we start to realize that, oh, the impact of the law is different. Kalau kita tengok the law that we have right now is without investigation of all the impact to the society. So that is what Heiger's song is trying to say. Any input? Anyone who wants to ask any questions? He actually changed himself, so he becomes a person that is beneficial to the society eventually, right? And then at the same time, when he becomes a person that is not a trouble to himself, he can actually help others. He is helping his sister in order for her to come out. She was a victim herself. Then there will be his students, yeah, young mentally tortured also, so suffered the same thing. So he helped that person to realize the situation and come out. So instead of putting him in jail and uh, expanding or making the situation worse, but what we need to do is, by realizing, then we can create the situation whereby the law will come in to help rather than punish. Okay, that is what I'm trying to say. The law is supposed to help rather than punish, because punishment does not solve the problem. If the law is to help, and by realizing what seems to be the problem, then the law is going to be a very fruitful means to change the society. So kalau kita tengok dalam Scandinavian society, we don't have to agree to all the things that is going down there, but the thing that we can see is that the society is getting the benefit of the outlook towards law as from the Scandinavian jurisprudence. Yeah. Okay. We shall continue with the class. So, can guys, I'm worried that if can you see the full screen or not right now?
Yes, we can see.
Dekat bawah tu ada hitam nak ganggu ke apa ke? Ada tak?
Tak ada.
Because my previous class dia kata ada nampak benda hitam ganggu. Bukan hantu lah. Dia punya ni. Okay. So if we were to continue, let's look at this. Yeah. Height floating. So this is him. Okay. So Scandinavian Realism. So headed by Hagerstorm, State, Oliver Krona, and Roth. Ross, they have their own way of looking into the realistic approach. So we have done Hagerstorm. So Hagerstorm. So let's move on to, okay, by looking at the, what they call it, I don't want to masuk. Can you let me know? I don't want to masuk because I am not aware, because so many things yang I nak kena monitor. Can someone just need and let me know by voice? Okay, if you look at this, the summary of Hagerstorm is by using your senses of sight and touch in order for you to come to knowledge about the reality that you are that you are changing ataupun that you are studying. So if you are able to have that kind of experience in terms of the reality, then you should be able to understand the situation better. And any changes to the law that you are going to create would have a more positive impact. Yeah? So in this particular situation, what we need to do is not to study alone. What we need to do is to go there, to be part and parcel of this community in order for us to understand what seems to be the problem that they have.
Sir,
Yeah.
ada orang yang nak masuk, sir.
Okay, Izzah dah masuk
Ramai lagi, sir. Ada yang dekat grup.
dekat grup.
Dia orang cakap dia orang nak masuk.
Dia nak masuk tapi tak boleh. Sekejap
Okay, sir.
Okay, dia boleh masuk tak? Can you message?
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Sir, I cannot isi lah borang yang you bagi kat dalam WhatsApp tu, sir.
Oh, tak
I don't
boleh
know why.
isi. Tak boleh isi maksudnya macam mana?
Dia punya server tu dia tak nak load. I tried using my phone, I tried using laptop.
Okay. Because I have to switch account kot. I have to switch account because my account is ITM punya. And when I registered under that, dia cut off. Alah, kenapa? Wait, Try to...
I tried since 8 AM tadi but cannot juga.
Cannot juga. Kalau I bagi sekali lagi, try juga. Boleh?
Boleh
Tak apa, don't worry. It's just formality je tu. Nah?
Alright.
Okay. So, coming back. Okay, coming back. Boleh tak I ubah? Kalau ubah host nanti I tak boleh record. Okay, right. So if you are able to see this from Hagerstrom punya point of view, you have to experience it. The key word is to experience the nature that you are trying to change, right? Creating law is not it's not just like macam juris one. It's just creating without you caring about other things that is going to happen macam mana, you know. You don't care about what is the outcome of the law. Kalau you apply juris one punya lah. Kalau you apply positivist, then you don't care what is the outcome. Contoh dia macam sekarang lah. This is currently what is happening in our country, where COVID, the central government kata okay buka, but the state kata no, you know. So what needs to be done actually? Kalau kita tengok as far as macam jogging pun boleh, doesn't make any sense. The economic impact is none. Tak wujud pun economic benefit. So if it's something of beneficial, how do you know whether it is beneficial or not? You just cannot just, I rasa it is not having any beneficial impact. So for example, main golf, you know, the golf club and things like that. How do you know in terms of the impact, whether we should open it up or, you know, not opening it up? So that is why we are having dispute between the federal and the state. So what we need to do is to understand the situation. And how to understand the situation? We have to look at the reality of the situation rather than we think. It's not about thinking, it is about experiencing. Okay, So moving on, kita tengok silap dah tak panggil, tak suruh you all jadi host. Okay, if you look at this, Lancet, background, he is the member of parliament. He is also a jurist. He is a professor of law at the Uppsala University, and he is the what they call it a great follower lah, of Hagerstrom. He is a great follower of Hagerstrom, whereby obviously if you look at Hagerstrom is coming from the philosopher punya point of view. Hagerstrom is more towards practical philosophy rather than philosophy itself. Kalau you belajar Juris 1, it's all about philosophy kan. It's about philosophy of nature, philosophy of religion, you know. But when it comes to Hagerstrom, it's more towards practical philosophy. It's no longer philosophy, it's practical in nature. Macam you belajar science. Yeah? If you belajar science dengan applied science, pure science dengan applied science is two different area of science. Pure science is looking at the theory, formula, calculation. But applied is using all the things that you learn from pure science into the nature of what we call applied lah. So kalau you belajar how to mix chemistry, mix liquids. You now you learn how to put it into practice that will produce something that you want to achieve. Okay. Okay, that is the background of him. To the extent that pernah that he made a statement that actually he cherished Hagerstrom so much. He is already a law professor while he entered the university as a teacher, as a lecturer. But upon discovering and getting to know Hagerstrom, then he started to say to the extent that I say, man, I shouldn't have got my professorship. My professorship is nothing as compared to something that this Hagerstrom is trying to say. Because Hagerstrom is a practical person, is a realistic person. Because kalau you belajar law, all this while you belajar law from Asasi until now, it is more of a rigid nature. So you belajar. You just focus that law is supposed to be like this. You learn about the legal argument, legal doctrine, and things like that. It's very rigid in nature. It's very difficult for us to kata it's supposed to be interpreted like this. We study about how the judges make their decision. So it is a rigid punya approach. So when he sees Hagerstrom, dia kata, oh, this is something that is totally different from what I have learned all this while. Yeah, especially when 1920s dan dia dah baru habis belajar law. So he discovered that approach Hagerstrom is totally different from what he is learning. He used to learn from the legal fraternity. Yeah? So that impact him into changing his mindset. So because Hagerstrom, there resists exposition of rights as metaphysical entities. Yeah. So because Hagerstrom sees everything from metaphysical is something that we are used to. We are exposed to all metaphysical things, and metaphysical is controlling us. Okay, we have religion to control us. We have the nature of the culture to control us. Doesn't mean that all these influences that that is regulating your behavior is correct. It's all about metaphysical. That is something that we cannot see. What we need to do is to be able to see that thing and to be able to experience it. There's two things. So one thing is to be able to see that particular thing that we are talking about, and we are able to experience it. That is what Hegelstorm is trying to say. He argues that the realistic legal analysis should dispense with them. So a realistic legal analysis has to be conducted whenever you face with a certain uh, certain things that you want to study. Yeah, say for example, what is your rights? What is your fundamental rights? Kenapa ada fundamental rights? Is it something that is being given? You know, why it is being given? Is it something that is must be given? You know, so you start to question. Can you see your fundamental rights? Is it given to you? And how do you know whether you have fundamental right or not? You know, somebody has said or explained. Yeah, somebody have given you some explanation about your rights. Otherwise, before this, before you study law, you have no idea of your rights. So people out there who doesn't learn about law, they have no idea about their rights unless and until they face a problem. They go and see the lawyers, and the lawyers will be able to say, hey, actually you have your rights. This is against the law. Only then they will start to realize that okay, I do have that right. Or they come to you say that I think I have my right. I don't know what is the position of the law. And then they check it with you, and they start to realize that yeah, I do have the rights. You know, this particular situation has to be analyzed, to be rationalized. Yeah, and how do you rationalize things? By you to be able to experience it. So his main focus of his theoretical work becomes the sustained attack on what he called the method of justice. So he actually attacks the what they call it, the metaphysical entities, the concept of metaphysical of law, just like what his friend Hegelstorm. Now, saya tengok sini. Okay, no objective way to define the requirement of justice, because to him, as far as justice is concerned, there is no way for us to identify what do you mean by justice. If you were to interpret the concept of justice, is something that is very vague, something that is going to be defined by perspective of each individual that you ask the question. So that is quite problematic. Yeah. He calls for justice to be, to be analyzed in terms of realistic approach. So he rejects the subjective preferences, meaning subjective, meaning you can interpret the law as you feel that you need to interpret. Yeah? Every person will have their own way of interpreting the law. Or an unacceptable metaphysical claim, because some people who doesn't believe in religion, who doesn't believe in natural law, you force them to accept the view from natural law or from the religious perspective. You know, forcing a person to believe in the law that you believe is not something beneficial, yeah, because it is something of a science that needs to be rationalized. So contoh kalau kita tengok sini he is saying that the law and legislation should be guided by a method of social welfare. Now, Lansted extend what Hagerstrom is saying. So he says that because dia law kan, Hagerstrom philosophy area. So he is saying that actually that the legislation and the law must achieve a goal, which is to improve the society. Um, this is what we call, I cannot pronounce the word, Semanatism, Semanatism, or something along that line. What he called is the social benefit or social utility that needs to be derived from the legislation or the law. Okay, so for example, he promoted nak bagi example, homosexual activities. He promoted a private bill, to promote homosexual relationship between uh, males, in 1933, because their study in terms of the reality of the situation. Okay, looking at the people, he is very active person. He is very vocal. He is, he, he involved himself with a lot of things. So he discovered that in order for us to have a utility, the social economic benefits, so what we need to do is to legalize homosexual relationship. Uh, for those yang ada religious punya background, you might be like, apa ni, But we are studying people, so you don't worry about your what they call it, your perception. So he also promote the prohibition of against alcohol, because at that same time Sweden, so they wanted to have this situation whereby they want to prohibit drinking of alcohol. So because he says that if you were to do that, we are going to have similar result like what America or Finland, who apply the same law that prevents people from taking alcohol, where people will eventually buat sendiri alcohol tu, because dia kata if you eat, say for example you nak makan buka puasa ni, what do you want to eat? Kalau lah kata you want to eat something and then you want to eat with something with a specific drink. Okay, for example you nak, dia kata lah dia nak, kalau you nak minum dengan wine with the food that you are taking, you want to take wine with it. So it is not the problem of the law or the issue with the law to prevent you from taking the wine. Okay? If the law is preventing you to take the wine by making it illegal, the tendency is for you to be able to get your wine from somewhere, because that is what you want. You want to be able to enjoy the wine. So if the law comes in to prevent you from enjoying it, you will do it in your own way. You will get it done. So you see people right now, we have law against drugs. It does not stop. In fact, it goes, it's getting bigger and bigger. So it is just a mere assumption whether opening the law again towards drugs addiction, drugs taking. So that is something that is subjective. You have to study whether the impact is going to be positive in terms of the society or negative. So that is something that needs to be discovered. Okay. So basically what he's trying to say is that you cannot stop people to do what they want to do. So in order for you to realize that, then you have to do studies. Then when you do studies, then you start to realize what is the best social benefits that that particular act or law that you create is going to bring to the society. So as I mentioned, he is the member of Swedish Parliament, and he promote the changes for the penal system, as I mentioned about the homosexual penal relationship, and with various liberal reforms. Yeah? And so he's very influential lah, in terms of the Swedish Parliament. In fact, he wanted to be the, call it, supreme judge. So he applied to be a supreme judge, but they rejected him because his idea is so, what they call it, sometimes he is very vocal, and dia pernah sokong Perdana Menteri, yang di mana Perdana Menteri Sweden at that point of time buat statement that they don't want to be involved in World War II, and by being an neutral country, okay, by being a neutral country, and people were angry because the impact of being a neutral country from the war, you save the country from destruction, tetapi the impact of the society in terms of the benefits for not having war, you don't get that economic, you don't have food for you to survive and things like that. Yeah. Contoh, German utilize their railway, Sweden punya railway, in order for German to attack other countries. Contoh senang saya nak bagi ialah to look at our situation lah. Yeah. Our situation that we had previously in World War II, Thailand allows Japan to come in from the north rather than from the south. From the south meaning from sea, Sea Armada. So because the British, kalau you pergi Pulau Sentosa, you will see big cannons that is actually facing towards the sea. Yeah? And they were anticipating that the Japanese were coming from that area. But instead, Thailand has opened up the country and saying that they don't want to be involved. They don't want to be, involved in the war, and they gave Japan access to come into our country. Okay, so this influence of him towards the society decision of the country, whether the country wants to be involved in the war or not, is something that is very impactful. Yeah. Okay. So quite simple his idea. So kalau you apply to this particular picture like normal, what we need to do is by applying his idea. So law and legislation should be guided by a method of social welfare. So the key word to him, he is slightly different from Hegelstorm. So he sees that as far as the benefit towards the society that you need to look into in order for the law to be beneficial or productive to the society. So that is one step. Now we look at Oliver Crona. Oliver Crona, he is a person of legal realism. He also followed the Hegelstorm in saying that slightly different. Yeah, his approach is slightly different. The need for the force of law, because if you study the situation, then you start to realize that we need some kind of authority, some kind of the force of the law, in order for the society to have a psychological effect that is going to be able for the society to change themselves. Okay, so if you were to apply a consistent implementation of legal rules, then the outcome is going to be beneficial for the society. Contoh yang kita tengok kat sini, just give you a picture of brutality against the iaitu picture of apa justice, lady of justice. So if you're looking at this, he is in this mode. He says that the law should have a force in order for the law to have a psychology impact towards the society. If you were to let the society to change it by nature of what they think it should be, then you know things are not going to be changed as what the reality needs to be. Yeah. For example, kalau you apply a lady of justice, it goes along the line of a concept of natural justice, subjective. Law is blind. So if it's law is blind, then law can be interpreted in many, many ways. So according to Oliver Corner, if you were to utilize that, then things are not going to move towards the betterment of the society. So he promotes for the organized force, to be the backbone of every modern society. So kalau tak ada, there would be no real security, and therefore there is no regards to life and limb. Yeah. So the basic element of the society is to be able to live in peace. And if you were to have different interpretation about the law based on metaphysical, then the law there is bound to be unrest in the society. So in order to avoid that, you need to have an organized force to force against the people in the society in terms of psychology. So the modern state in turn is the organization that has monopolized the use of force. Kalau kita tengok towards his idea, he says that any modern state should monopolize the force of law in order for the society to be able to realize what needs to be the best outcome. So he strives for the overwhelming cohesive power to guarantee order, in international relations. International relations, it is based, kalau you belajar what they call it in international law. International law is based on concept of natural justice ataupun universal moral standards. So kalau universal moral standards, that everyone have to respect sovereignty of every other countries. So that is subjective, because how do you know whether that particular person is to be sovereign or not? If that particular country that is to be so-called sovereign, to respect the sovereignty of that country, what if the country you have things that is going on within that country that is killing their population? Like for example, Myanmar. We have a country that is killing their citizen and then causing other people to run away from their country. We have the Middle East. So if we were to allow certain people to have their way of controlling the society by virtue of respecting them, that is a very vague concept. What we need to do is a cohesive power in order for a relationship, a real relationship to be established. So he is convinced that Europe back then require an unchallengeable controlling force to ensure peace and unity, and that can be provided by Germany. Okay? During the war 1939, so you realize that German was the one that is powerful, and German can unite everyone in order for them to move forward. So but you look at German, what they did was they abused the position that they hold, because they attack other countries and they make sure that the countries are within their domain. Tapi dia ada ulterior motive. The ulterior motive dia the motive that they have is actually to have more space for their citizens, and when they conquer that particular land, those people within that land becomes their slave. Okay? They are to work. These people are to work for the German people, and at the end of the day, they will die off. So only German people will survive. So itu Hitler punya idea. But I think Oliver Crona is utilizing Hagerstrom punya idea and saying that you need to have some brute force, in order for you to be able to control the law. So he argued that England has lost its claims for leadership of the European countries. So because back then, England is the most powerful country, because they have the British Empire and so on. So this is no longer a reality, because macam ni nak bagi tahu, where British is unable to help all these European countries. British is just getting all the benefit of the control that they have over all the Asian countries like India, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, countries that is able to benefit England, and England do not pass the benefits to the European countries. And it's different when it comes to German. German try to change things, though you nampak macam is negative. Positive things, say for example, they come out with nak bagi contoh, dia keluarkan apa, Beetle tu, Volkswagen, Volkswagen dia panggil. Volkswagen tu, dia wagon is car, box tu adalah rakyat, Volkswagen. So itu idea Hitler. So he came out with this concept of all people should be able to utilize that technology and to be able to drive. Macam kita punya Proton lah, to make the car cheap and reliable for people to utilize. But doesn't work in Malaysia because Proton tu banyak yang rosak, banyak benda yang, dan harga dia pun kita bayar tinggi tapi tak dapat benefit. So here he is in line with Carl Smith. Carl Smith ni dia legal jurist lah, of German, and then they're part of the Nazis. Okay, so we can see that Oliver Crona ni dia ada inclination on the left side, which is towards the Nazis. So Oliver Crona develops Landstedt argument against international law, as I mentioned earlier. So basically, Landstedt kata, in order for us to make reality of international law, we have to, experience it in terms of the reality of the situation. Compared to Landstedt, Oliver Crona is saying that there is a need for monopolization of the use of force in Europe. So otherwise, every country in Europe, as you can see from the history, they have been in war. They have been at war. They have been at war with their neighbors for hundreds of years. Yeah, I think more about 500 years. Yeah, so they have been entering into war with one another, and there is a need for one strong force to unite everyone. So kalau kita tengok in European Union sekarang pun, it is not that strong because eventually England is now they opt out not to be belonging to the European continent. Okay, so this unity can be achieved if every nation within the European continent submitted themselves to an organization controlled by the strongest power in Europe. So that is what he is trying to say lah. Then dia kata, on the other hand, there were some striking similarities of ways of Lansdowne and Oliver Crona conceived in the relation between legal science and politics. Kalau kita tengok sini, Oliver Crona ni dia ada sama kesamaan dengan Lansdowne, tapi he sees that as a relationship between legal science and politics. Yeah? So the ambition is to provide legal foundation for new society order. Okay, both of them obviously subscribe, yeah, or ascribe to a central role of legal scientists in order for them to come up to a new social order. Obviously, Oliver Crona is saying that it can be done through monopolization of organized force. Yeah, so he actually ignored the discussion of democratic control. So kalau kita tengok application to this Oliver Crona to the problem that we face in this picture is by the modern state in turn is an organization that has to monopolize the situation by force. That is the reality. Okay, you boleh kata, mana reality ni? Because you are to experience things. The experience that you go through the 500 years of the makeup of European continent is they always go at war, okay, with each other. So in order for situation to change, we need to have a centralized or force to be able to monopolize and change the law in order for it to be something that is beneficial for the society. Okay, but yeah, I don't agree with him. Obviously, many of you are not going to agree because the outcome of Nazis is negative rather than positive. Sama dengan Jepun lah. Jepun datang Malaysia is to liberate ourselves. We were thinking that the Japanese are our hero, but it turns out they are even worse than the British. Yeah, so they rape our people, they kill our people, you know, brutal and things. Okay, next person before we have another 10 minutes. Yeah, Afros. Okay, another person from the Scandinavian. As I already mentioned, you know, if you go through the points here, there is no priori validity to give the law special position. Yeah? You cannot, law have no special position that you need to recognize it. Yeah? You have to look at the reality. So it has to be done through experience, yeah, as our guideline. And obviously, he also disagree with the concept that everyone have the right to have different preferences and make different choices. Because if you were to allow that, chances are you will see a continuous disagreement between the society. So to him, he says law has no meaning until it has been determined what actually belongs to someone. So kalau you kata this is my right, what do you mean by my right? So where does it come from? How do you prove that you have your right? You can say that it is my fundamental liberties guaranteed under the federal constitution. Why is it there? Okay, what about others? You know, question that can be made towards that concept of right. Yeah? It is no meaning unless it will be able for us to be determined. Yeah? So unless we are able to determine in terms of science, in terms of the experience and study, then only then that law is considered as valid. So legal rules is neither true or false. It is a directive. Yeah? It is something of a once kita dah discover the law, it will what do you call it? It will direct us upon experiencing the problem that we are studying, then we start to realize, oh, okay, it will direct you towards a good outcome. Yeah? The norm is directed as judges rather than citizen. Because kalau you tengok dekat judges, they have a role that they have to play. The role that they have to play is to bring out justice to the society for those people who come to their court with their problem. So the same thing here when it comes to Ross is saying that law should be a directive, meaning once you discover, once you experience it, and then you are able to uh, get the law to direct. He opposed natural law approach because to him dia kata natural law is just like a halat. Halat ni you know kataan dia macam apa halat uh, kita perempuan perempuan Sunda lah ya. It's just macam perempuan perempuan kotor lah ya. So it can be utilized by everyone. Yeah? So natural law is at the disposal of everyone. The ideology does not exist that cannot be defended by an appeal to the law of nature. Because kalau you apply to the law of nature, because the law of nature can be used by anyone. Dia macam prostitute lah. A prostitute can be used by anyone who have your own opinion. In that prostitution ada duit, then you can apply. So the same thing with law, natural law. It is something that is being able to be used by people who have the power to utilize it. Because this ultimate basis of every natural right lies in a private direct insight. It's up to you individually to look at what natural rights is. So you have your own interpretation. It's just a contemplation or intuition. Intuition is you rasa, you rasa you ada hak. Tapi whether hak tu betul ke tak, that is something that we need to identify. Okay, so he says that cannot my intuition be as good as yours? Because you can say I have right. So what about other people's right? So everyone have their own way of looking. Evidence is the criteria of truth, explained by utterly arbitrary characters of metaphysical assertion. So evidence is just something that is being utilized by the metaphysical assertion that, for example, natural law, something that we need to have, peace. So murder is something that is considered as wrong. Why murder is considered as wrong? Because it produces bad outcome to the society. It is by virtue of evidence that is not really understandable when it comes to situation macam video tadi, you know. So if you were to apply law strictly, then the outcome would be negative to the whole society. But if you were to utilize it in a good manner, where the law is supposed to come in to help people that have problems, say for example in his situation tadi dalam video tu, the law will come in to support him to study, you know, give him opportunity to be able to register with the university. If he is a person yang, you know, blacklisted, say for example orang yang nak masuk penjara, so once orang yang nak masuk penjara, the chances of that particular person to be able to live you know, productively in a society is very minimal because he is already being labeled as that particular person that is you have to be careful of. Whereas dah kena punish. So kalau you tengok picture ni, it is between the crusades, between the Muslim and the Christians, because this is a situation whereby interpretation, the difference of interpretation between two group of people from two different religions. So they fight it out because every one of them saying that they are on the right track. Okay, we see here in Hyde Park punya videos, kalau you masuk kat dalam YouTube Hyde Park punya discussion between ni, kadang-kadang you tengok between Syiah, Sunni. Dalam Sunni pun ada Deobandi, ada Ash'ari. You know, they will see things differently from their own perspective. So if you allow things to have interpretation, this is what is going to happen. Sometimes it is a good discussion, but sometimes it turns out, worse. Like for example, jadi macam ni lah, war. You know. So what needs to be done is Ross kata kita kena develop something that is he calls as legal politics. Legal politics ni kalau you tengok politics dia ada politik that is force politics force politics dengan welfare politics. Kalau kita belajar politics yang FSPPP, dia orang tu belajar politics So when you belajar politik, there will be two area, we call it force politics dengan welfare politics. Welfare politics is whereby the government in control utilizing welfare in order for them to gain recognition by the society. And then kalau force is utilizing force in order for the society to politically utilizing the political force in order to get good feedback from the society. Contoh senang kita ambil yang COVID lah sekarang. COVID, the government is now applying what? Is it welfare and welfare and power politics juga. Power politics, the central government is saying, states, we are going to take action against you under our jurisdiction that we have. Yeah, that is disputed lah. Kalau kita tengok dalam federal constitution, this kesihatan falls under concurrent list, where both of them are having powers, but they are now utilizing their political powers in order for the state. Yeah, the central government is forcing towards the state. That is political force. But the other one is political welfare. Kalau political welfare, politician can utilize this concept. Contoh macam keadaan dalam COVID ni juga pakai. Contoh macam mana? Dia bagi economic stimulus package. Okay, economic stimulus package to certain group of people, to banks, to certain syarikat in order for them to survive this lockdown. Yeah. So kalau you tengok kat US lagi besar lah, they injected a few trillion money, trillions of money into the system and giving the money towards not just the society but towards those companies that needs. That is what we call welfare politics as compared to force politics. But Ross is promoting the legal politics because they kata legal politics is a way out rather than utilizing the other politics. Because if you apply this legal politics by using law as the foundation or the method for us to go and solve the problem, then the outcome is much better as compared to force or fair politics. So it is a guidance for legislature for the purpose of articulating premises for influencing social action and proposing formulation instructing legislative organs when they enact the law. So legislators, when they create law, they do not actually properly study. They will have, kalau you belajar MLS dulu kan, first reading, second reading, before that, the reading is to be studied is to be conducted for investigation, for investigation purposes, is being given to a committee, and that particular committee they akan pass to certain organization ataupun certain department of the government in order for them to carry out that study. So you are letting other people to do it rather than you yourself doing the what do you call it, scientific research. Yeah. So it's quite heavy lah for legislators. In order for them to create new laws, they have to actually understand the impact of the laws. So this is what Ross is saying about legal politics. So kalau tengok dekat picture biasa ni, so applying Ross macam mana is, if you look at the situation, you have to look from legal politics, whereby scientific research has been to be conducted based on practical activity. So all legislators must be able to be aware of the problem rather than letting other people to conduct study for them. Yeah? So it is the guidance for legislature for the purpose of articulating premise and influencing social action. So if they were not to be able to do that, then legal politics, successful legal politics, when your method is not going to be able to produce good results. Okay, so that's the end of the class. Any questions that you want to ask before we end? Basically, quite simple. Not kalau we summarize, let's just summarize. Kalau Lansted, he is looking towards what? He is looking towards the outcome, yeah, the social benefits of the law. Anything when you study, when you start to realize, experience it, then you start to have the objective or outcome. If it brings improvement to the society, then that move is good. Kalau Oliver Crona is more towards a brute force. You need to have a force that is able to monopolize the situation of law in order to bring good result. Okay, so you need to have force. And then kalau kita tengok Ross, dia punya is more towards utilizing legal politics in order for the society to benefit from the ruling ataupun from the creation of the law. Okay, so those who are in politics, obviously they are in control of legislators, and if they are in control of legislators, they themselves have to be aware of the problem that they want to create. Yeah? The new law that they want to create is must be something that they have to have knowledge in it or experience it. Okay, so basically it is that's it. So any questions that you want to ask?